Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. If you've played the Middle-earth games, you're likely familiar with several videos that have indicated how they deviate from important details established by Tolkien. I understand where the Tolkien fans are coming from, and they do say that the games are fun in spite of the contradictions. Still, I don't think it's a big deal. The Middle-earth series is clearly inspired more by the movies, which have also altered some events from the books. There's behind-the-scenes stuff where Peter Jackson wanted Sauron to fight one-on-one with Aragorn, or Arwen to be at Helm's Deep in the Two Towers. Jackson was even supportive of Monolith and gave them some advice. If the games had been integrated into the movie timeline, I don't think Jackson would have minded. Second, the details are just one piece of the puzzle. It's also the adherence to a story spirit. Does the adaptation align with the themes, messages, and overall atmosphere of the work it is adapting? That's what I'll be analyzing in this video. On the surface, the games seem to adhere to the core plot of The Lord of the Rings. Sauron and the Orcs are evil. Good people rise to confront evil while protecting others. It's the classic good versus evil trope that we're all familiar with. Yet, the point of diversion seems to be Talion and Celebrimbor. They're clearly not paragons. Talion believes in a greater good, helping the outcasts and Gondorians when he could. Yet, his objective was vengeance for his family, using Celebrimbor's wraith powers to combat and dominate his foes. Celebrimbor might have been on the good side before, but his exposure to the One Ring has made him a power-hungry tyrant. He is willing to do anything to dethrone Sauron and conquer Middle-earth. Talion and Celebrimbor are clearly anti-heroes, the latter becoming a villain by the end of the series. From what I have seen, Tolkien's anti-heroes are not comparable to Talion. The closest would be Bilbo, who doesn't really do good for good's sake, but rather for the thrill of adventure or to save his friends from danger. I don't think Gollum would count since he's motivated by pure selfishness. He's just a character who is addicted to the One Ring and wants it back. And then there's the key motif in the Middle-earth games, protagonists using evil powers to fight evil. This is something Tolkien would never approve of, especially when delving deep into his philosophy.
There are no saviors in Middle-earth, no one who rises to power and defeats Sauron. And this is a very Christian theme. As Peter Kreeft says, the ring is so powerful that no creature can overcome it. Similarly, Christianity teaches that sin is so powerful that no creature can overcome it. What actually defeats Sauron in the end is divine providence, which Tolkien even says in his letters, stating Frodo was just an instrument of divine providence.
But what when Sauron and Morgoth were defeated? Could they be redeemed then? I think many would say no, but perhaps it is not within us to answer if they are redeemable or not. Perhaps the only one that can answer and decide that is Eru himself.
Those who played Shadow of War may remember Talion saying this as he puts on Isildur's ring.
As long as I have breath in my body, my fate is my own.
It sounds cool and motivational in the moment, yet that was the downfall of all the ring wraiths. They gladly took the rings from Sauron if that meant their fate was their own. Talion may have been fighting Sauron out of love for Gondor, which helped him resist for so many years. Yet, he relied on himself, not divine providence from a creator. Then there's Talion's redemption after his death. While I appreciate that Talion gets the happy ending, it doesn't really make sense from Tolkien's Catholic beliefs. Again, going back to the divine providence argument, Talion's fall had to be dictated by Eru, the creator of everything, and Eru had to say whether Talion deserved redemption for everything he tried to accomplish. For all we know, Eru worked through Eltariel to become the new balance in Mordor, as Talion was on his way to becoming Sauron's minion.
I am banished from death and bound to the flaming eye.
Likewise, Celebrimbor's use of the One Ring to save his family was his own choice, though he was warned that it would lead to his doom.
Take care, Sauron. If you defeat Sauron and take the Wand, you may become something far worse.
He doesn't make himself the instrument of divine providence or truly for good. He does it solely for his own selfishness, without exploring other alternatives to fight Sauron or save his family. With Celebrimbor dubbed as the Bright Lord, it's easy to assume that Monolith was trying to deconstruct light is always good tropes. Well, if that was the intent, it failed. Instead, it reinforces Tolkien's belief that evil cannot be used for good ends.
I will use this ring from a desire to do good. But through me, it would wield a power too great and terrible to imagine.
There is an absolute evil and there is an idea of absolute good. Would you agree? Mordor, after all, is a principle of absolute
We
evil.
don't believe in absolute evil, but we believe in absolute good.
Yeah.
Let's say,
If you don't believe in absolute evil, why did you create the Dark Lord, who seems to be the apotheosis of it?
but he said in the book that he himself was not evil to begin with.
Ah, he fell. Then, like Lucifer.
Yeah?
So you're...
Well, he's several stages down from Lucifer.
You do believe, then, that there can be a state of absolute good from which most people do fall.
When Rings of Power premiered, people were quoting Tolkien about evil, but not the entire quote, which is, "Evil is not able to create anything new. It can only distort and destroy what has been invented or made by the forces of good." They were primarily saying this about the quality of the show itself, which is fair but misses the point. Absolute good, in Catholic terms, is when we allow God into our lives and live by the example Christ gave us. Evil is the absence of God, or trying to subvert God's creation to establish things of our own. We are all created by God, but still tempted by original sin. Yet, we are allowed to choose whether to stay in God's grace or fall as the devil did. This isn't to say that atheists, agnostics, or others can't be good. Much of Western culture, including many secularist ideals, were shaped by Judeo-Christian thought. This is why Tolkien says there is no absolute evil. Yeah, the orcs in Tolkien's works are supposed to be a dark warrior race, which the games addressed. But that's not all they're supposed to be.
Yes, I think the orcs as real a creation as anything in realistic fiction. Your vigorous words will describe the tribe. Only in real life, they are on both sides of course, but romance has grown out of allegory, and its wars are still derived from the inner war of allegory, in which good is on one side and various modes of badness on the other. In real exterior life, men are on both sides, which means a motley alliance of orcs, beasts, demons, plain natural honest men, and angels. But it does make some difference who are your captains and whether they are orc-like per se, and what it is all about, or thought to be. It is even in this world possible to be more or less in the wrong or in the right.
Orcs are cracked mirrors, what we can become when we surrender to temptations and lose sight of what is good. Even Frodo did not see them as absolute evil.
With regard to the Lord of the Rings, I cannot claim to be a sufficient theologian to say whether my notion of orcs is heretical or not. I don't feel under any obligation to make my story fit with formalized Christian theology, though I actually intended it to be consonant with Christian thought and belief, which is asserted somewhere, Book 5, page 190, where Frodo asserts that the orcs are not evil in origin. The shadow that bred them can only mock. It cannot make, not real new things of its own. I don't think it gave life to the orcs. It only ruined them and twisted them. And if they are to live at all, they have to live like other living creatures. Foul waters and foul meats they'll take if they can get no better, but not poison.
Absolute evil suspects that evil itself is a necessity. It's not, but it's left in the world for people to fight against and grow as people. Also, just because Talion is not a Tolkien anti-hero doesn't mean he isn't a biblical one. Anti-heroes themselves are a staple of the Old Testament. One that Talion closely resembles is Samson. Both are warriors who use whatever means to eliminate the enemies of their peoples. Both were betrayed by somebody closest to them. both ended up calling upon a power to fight their foes before falling. Though in Samson's case, he called upon God, which still makes Talion's sudden walk into heaven confusing. Celebrimbor himself falls from absolute good by fighting evil with evil. He's not a subversion of light, but an archetype of Lucifer, like Sauron is. Just substitute Bright Lord for Lightbringer and Sauron for Satan. Celebrimbor becomes enraptured by the One Ring, and inherits Sauron's traits.
And into this ring he poured his cruelty, his malice, and his will to dominate all life.
In the end, Celebrimbor is another Dark Lord, which is confirmed by Talion himself.
I will not trade one Dark Lord for another.
Talion himself is an example of succumbing to darkness. He fights to keep evil at bay, but knows that he will eventually fall to Isildur's ring.
I grow weaker with each year I wear Isildur's ring, but my mission remains the same. Hold Mordor.
Whether Monolith intended to or not, it is a beautiful antithesis to the morally gray or dark morality. You can only use evil to achieve good ends for so long before you yourself become the villain. Not all anti-heroes stay anti-heroes or become true heroes. There is a point where they transform into the very evil they sought to destroy.
Don't lecture me, Obi-Wan. I see through the lies of the Jedi. I do not fear the dark side as you do.
But you know what? That's what makes Talion such a morally complex character, at least in Shadow of War. He wanted to destroy Sauron, but in the right way. He never sought to be the force that kept evil at bay, nor did he want to be evil. He's just a person who encountered unfortunate circumstances and failed to find a way to expunge the evil within himself or find alternatives. He would want to be doing what Eltariel does in the DLC, recruiting orcs instead of dominating them, wielding light instead of darkness, while also assisting Gondorians and their allies. I'm not saying that Eltariel is perfect. Her betrayal out of nowhere is a clear indicator. At the very least, she atones for what she's done. She's still an anti-hero, but leans more towards the good side than Talion does. So yeah, the Middle-earth series does go off in its own direction. It takes liberties with the lore and makes a couple of questionable decisions, some that Tolkien would rightfully critique. Yet, it doesn't subvert the spirit and moral plays of Tolkien's works. It portrays Talion, Celebrimbor, and Eltariel as different positions on the anti-hero spectrum, and what they could become. So, while Tolkien wouldn't like the entire game series for what it is, he might commend Monolith for giving some nuance to the nature of evil. Or laugh at them if they intended something else entirely. Still, even as someone who hasn't read the books much, the games actually made me interested in Tolkien's lore. I looked up YouTube videos and found a creation myth as detailed as those in the Elder Scrolls. If a game can inspire me to look up the lore of the original work, it's doing something right. Still, I would like to know what you all think in the comments. Are there any holes in my thesis, or is it pitch perfect? I want to take our discussion further, but I may need a bit of time to respond. I'll be busy reviewing the next Frogwares Holmes game. Also, for those who have just found my channel or didn't check the community tab, we reached over 100 subscribers on YouTube a while back, and it continues to grow. Thanks to all of you who have subscribed, and to all of you who stop by to watch my videos. I aim to reach 200 subscribers by the end of the year, so if you've been following me and haven't subscribed yet, I'd really appreciate it if you could do so now. Otherwise, watching the video, engaging in the comments, and sharing with friends is more than enough. If you have subscribed, be sure to enable the bell icon so you don't miss the next video. You might not want to, because Holmes will be facing a villain whose name has far transcended history.